Oh my God. Okay. I think we're on, right, everyone? Yeah. Okay, cool. Except this is not on. What? Okay. All right. So, good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Thailand. Good morning, Asia, and good evening, the rest of the world. Sawasdee Kap. Okay, so Sawasdee Kap and aloha. I barely made it this morning. Doesn't matter. I was sharing. I was trying to fix all this, and I realized a line of a song came to my mind, and of course, I think most of you guys are young, right? So won't remember it, but I saw a song from Bob Dylan, "Subterranean Homesick Blues." He said, 20 years of schooling and they put you on the day shift. I mean, in those days, I guess 20 years was a lot, which I don't think is a lot since I did. After high school, I think I did 18 or 20 years or more, 24 years after high school. Anyway, 20 years of schooling and they put you on the day shift. Another great, you got to just listen to that song sometime. Subterranean Homesick Blues. By the way, Bob Dylan was the original rapper. Not the original. God. This phone to protect me keeps going off. What? My God. Oh. Can you guys hear? Can you guys hear? Oh, technical stuff. Can everyone hear me? Yes? Okay, good. How about on that side? Can you guys hear me? Whatever that is. That must be TikTok. Just can't hear anything. What? That's not TikTok. Can you hear? No sound? No sound? Still no sound on Instagram? No sound on Instagram anymore. Still no sound. Okay, TikTok's cool. Why is it? Okay, so why? How the hell am I supposed to know how to how to fix something that I don't even understand? No sound. No sound. No sound, right? Still? No sound, anyone? Everyone's still, is there still no sound on Instagram? Isn't this fun? Ah, fantastic. I can't believe it. You know, to have this much fun should be almost illegal, right? It's just too illegal. Uh, Unbelievable. I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute, and it's turned up, and it's just because it's technology, and I don't vibrate at the same. Yes. Yes. Anyway, you can't hear me on Instagram, right?
Okay, did you figure it out?
No. How can I figure it out? It's on. The phone's on. It's not on mute. The sound's turned all the way up. And you hear me, right? You hear me, but it's.
Screen. If you wouldn't mind.
What's that?
It's on. The phone's on. It's not on mute.
I don't. Excuse me, everyone.
You see the mic at the top right, the icon of the mic on your Insta screen? Tap that because it looks like it has a slash through it.
All right. Well, let me find out. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the problem. Okay.
All right. There we go.
Okay, let me check for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that happened, but I don't. I mean, how could that happen?
I know. Technology is against you.
Yeah,
I get it.
You know. All right, so it's working now. I'm sure it's working because that thing went off. I love it. Whoa, what a day to begin. Okay, so it's working now, right? Right. Yes. Instagram, please let me know it's working so I can go on. Hello? Anybody let me know? Instagram, let me know. What the heck is that noise? Okay, anyway, I'm assuming it's working. Somebody on Instagram say yes, working. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I guess not. Yes, you can. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, here we are. Okay, guys. I'm sorry. Let's get started. We got to come up with a new word beyond loathing, okay? Because it's beyond loathing that I have for this situation. By the way, the world's. Listen. I got it on my phone. I can't find it right now. But okay, imagine this. Imagine that this is really true, because it is. I get it. There's a thing with the newspaper, and this guy. The community is concerned about the consumption of, I forget what their term was, unusual substances. Anyway, this guy was taken to the emergency room because he had ingested too much horse semen. And so I thought, it's too much. What do you mean too much? There's like an amount you should ingest. I mean, so he had to go to the emergency room and have his stomach pumped because he ingested too much horse serum. Anyway, so and then I get pulled from what's it called, TikTok. And I'm glad you're all here. So I wake up and Sunday night live. Let's get moving. Okay. My God, are we gonna make it, you guys? So anyway, so let me just say something. We're the first week of September. We'll be starting our groups, and I the health and healing group, and the parasite group, and the CFC group, and right. So first week in September. So get please get on that drlodi.com inner circle so we can get you into that. We're finally gonna be starting. So I found out why it's been taking so long, and that's because the we're doing it all on my website instead of any other platform, so that we're the purpose obviously so that no one can deplatform us, because it's going to be our website. And so I don't know, I guess if we were using another platform, we could be, if we weren't liked for some reason, we could be deplatformed. So that's it. So we had to build the whole thing from I don't like to use idioms, so I'm not going to say we had to build it, period. I'll leave it at that. So from nothing, okay. Anyway, so but that's that. So it's done. It'll be, it'll be done first week of September. And get on that, and because it's gonna be fun. I'm making every day I run into things that I want to talk about, and so it's gonna be fantastic. And then you all know, of course, that that we're on we're on what, X, and all X, Rumble, everything. So all of the from TikTok to Instagram to Facebook to what else are there? Rumble, YouTube, all of those are at Dr. Thomas Lodi, Dr. Thomas Lodi. And then there's only the X, or used to be called Twitter, is Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD, right? Mythology doctor. Yeah. Okay, so now if you have and remember something, I'm not doing private consults on by Zoom anymore, just because there's just simply no time to do that. However, individually, but like if you like go through either the centers, either the Arizona Center and Oasis of Healing, and or over here Oasis Healing Asia, either way, then we wind up consulting anyway, and then I'm involved in the whole program as well. But there's just simply no time. So that's why I'm hoping these groups will be able to will be able to take care of that. So I want to talk about, when we're on the groups, remember we're having these Zoom meetings. There'll be Zoom so that you can share, and we can interact in real time, and I can answer questions, and we can go over your particular situation. As long you can keep it as vague as you want to, about your name, and keep yourself your screen off and all that sort of things. And you can just write and type instead of talk, or whatever, if you want to remain anonymous. But and I understand people have different sensitivities, so I get that. But for as far as for me, I have, whatever I have going on with me, I don't see it as anything different than if I was telling you, like, unless I had an abscess under my arm, I wouldn't be ashamed to tell you that, or whatever. Any more than saying I'm going to go to me, it has no meaning. So for me, it doesn't have any meaning. But a lot of people don't want to share that, and that's because they're connected to it emotionally, and that's really what we want to eventually break. We need to break that attachment. right? And that, and that goes right back to Buddhism. That's what Buddhism is. And remember, anybody who's listening who has a very, very strong religious beliefs and gets um, uncomfortable when they hear things like Buddhism, or remember, Buddhism to me is not a religion because they don't have a deity. They don't talk about God, right? It's really a psychological, psychospiritual, or psychological path to becoming an awakened person, to becoming awake. Awake means you know great thing that George Carlin said one time. He said, "You know why they call it the American dream? Because you got to be asleep to believe it." But anyway, it's our attachment to things, to thoughts, memories, and all that stuff that really, really, really have the ultimate effect on us. And right, and remember, the mind actually supersedes, is more powerful, has much more influence on our physical body than almost anything. I mean, other than something traumatically physical. I mean, other than getting hit by lightning, or standing next to a nuclear reactor, or getting stabbed or hit by a car. Other than that, the mind is the most powerful. Absolutely, 100%. And I've seen it. I've seen the mind. I see what happens. So the problem with it all is that none of us have control over our mind. Right? You don't. And that's the problem. And that is probably and that should be part of our upbringing, right? It should be part of our growing up. We have our children go into sports so they can have control over their body, and be have it's for physical health, but also but also just to be able to develop the mind body motor sensory coordination and all that. But none of us have control of our mind. We don't even think about that. We don't consider it. But I'm here to tell you that unless you have been doing this for a long time, in deep meditation for a long, long time, you don't have control of your mind. And I don't either. We don't. Because our minds, remember, our minds, tell me, as anybody listening right now, do you guys like to, like before you think a thought, do you decide to think that thought? I mean, you know what you're going to think, because before you think it, you realize that's an impossible thing, because you'd have to be thinking it to think it. So in other words, I'm trying to say is that thoughts are not things that we do. They're things that happen to us. It's a happening, just like your heart beating. Your mind is thinking. You can't not think. Try it. I'll give you 10 seconds. Try not to think. Okay, you can't. So anyway, to control that, can you imagine if you can control that, you can actually control your entire health. Because remember, the body, a human is a mind, body, spirit complex. All right. And it's not like the mind's here, the spirit's here, and the body's here. There's no three separate and distinct physical thing. They're not physical, right? There's not three separate and distinct qualities, aspects. Okay, it's all interwoven into one. It's the mind, body, spirit complex, right? Because the body, right, is made up of molecules, which are made up of atoms, which are made up of protons, neutrons, electrons, and now we do leptons, and right, which are what? We don't know what they are. They're not. When we get down to the quantum size of reality, we realize that there's no rules that we know of. There's no rules, right? They have the Newtonian rules don't work. There's no gravity. There's no force equals mass times acceleration. There's none of that stuff exists. And it's seemingly random type movements and stuff, and there's probabilities of. It's a whole different universe. Anyway, that's the foundation, the fundamental aspect of what we call physical reality. You know, if I can't see it, it ain't there. If I can't touch it, it ain't there. You know, so that kind of mentality is a mentality that does not understand that what is you think is there is well, what you think is there is not, and what is there you wouldn't understand. So anyway, um, so that's the physical reality, and we know that in the center of the of an atom, if you open it up, and you got a nuclear, you've got Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So, okay, so the body, mind, spirit. I mean, you know, anyway, that's what we are. So, and that being that's what we are, the mind, I think, has a tremendous effect, and I've seen the mind. What was that? I've seen the mind kill people, and I've seen the mind uh, heal people. Or, in other words, the mind allows the immune system to do it. There's nothing supernatural. There's no supernatural. There's no miracles. God already made the miracle. It's called life. It's called existence. Hey guys, are we back on? This is where are you guys? Come on. Okay. Um how do I oh, okay. I all right, cool. Okay, all right, good. Everybody's back on. I mean, we're all back on. Cool. Yeah, okay. Fantastic. Um so anyway, the um and I don't know how I got into this so soon, but let me just take it where it needs to go, and that is the mind. Okay, the mind. What is the mind? What is the mind? What is the mind? Do we know? Well, I mean, huh? What is it? It's a place where we have a symbolic representation, right? And we use what do we? What are the symbols we use? Words and pictures, images, right? Words and pictures, right? What are thoughts? Words and mostly images, right? Images. Um, and the words are in there only supportive. You don't think of a word, think of the spelling, and unless that's what you're doing. So, but anyway, words and pictures and are how are what constitute the mind. And uh, so it's a symbolic representation, and it is now you understand what a symbol is. It's pretty interesting. A symbol, the definition or the comprehension of what a symbol is that it's something that is representative of something else. Isn't that strange? And actually, we all think that that's how the entire universe is when we ask the question why. When we ask the question why, why is it there means that there's another reason other than it just being there. Why? Why did this happen? How about it just happened? We're not okay with that one. Why did it happen? There's another reason for it. You understand? So anyway, that's how we view reality. Is that almost because we use our minds, we think that everything is basically symbolic of something else, right? There's a reason for this. There's a reason for everything. In other words, that everything that's happening is not happening because it's happening. It's happening because it's a reason for it to happen. You understand? I don't know if I'm being clear. It's a very difficult, very subtle thing to get into. But anyway, I'm sure some of you get it. The other ones are the rest of you are saying, "What the heck is this guy talking about?" Yeah. So I mean, But so that's what the mind is: symbolic reality. It's not real, right? And it can only think in time, right? You can think about whatever, some concept of tomorrow, which is complete. You know, believe me, it's not known. I mean, not that it's not known. It isn't, right? It isn't there. Tomorrow isn't, and you'll watch. Stay around. How long? How old are you? Whatever you are, 20, 80, 90, 40, 50. I can tell you with certainty that you've never seen tomorrow. And that it's always been now, and you keep finding yourself in the middle of now, and you don't ever get to tomorrow. So, anyway, so tomorrow's a concept. Yesterday is definitely all kinds of concepts. What you think happened, what I think happened, we have all different opinions about what happened. Anyway, but it isn't. None of it is. And then there should, could be, should be, might be, could have been, should have been, maybe, and if aren't, right? And then, but that's where the mind is. So the only thing that really, as we know, that's real, the only thing that is real is now. And how do you know it? Because you're experiencing it. So now can only be experienced. You can't think about it, because then thinking about something removes it from you, right? So it's only be experienced. So you got to turn your mind off. And right. So get out of the symbolic world and into the real world. So there's a symbolic world, which is our mind, and then there's reality, which is experience. And we love that, right? We love that. That's what we get when we're blessed with a moment of not thinking, when the mind is shut off. When does that happen? Well, when you're dancing. I mean, if you're really enjoying it, not if you're trying to be cool. But I mean, if you're really loving your dance and you want, or how about music, playing music, or listening, or if you hear music and you're gone, you're not, and you're surfing. When you catch that wave, it's like you can't think. If you think you're going to crash, same thing with skiing or anything, anything like that. We love those moments where the mind is shut off, because when the mind is shut off, you know where we are. We're in a place where we have awareness and not knowledge, not thinking, not knowing. Remember, knowing is a knower and a known, duality, not real. Anyway, and it's like a spotlight, it's a flashlight. All right, awareness has no object of awareness. It's just pure awareness, and it's that point at which from which you emanate. Is what you are. Yeah, that point of awareness. So anyway, that's where you arrive at, and that place now that we arrive at when our mind is off. There's that awareness gives you actually absolute consciousness, absolute knowledge. Because if you're, and that's, I'm not going to get into it, that's the hard one, but anyway, absolute awareness, okay, and bliss. It's blissful, not happy, not sad, blissful. Okay, there's a word for it. I mean, there's 3 words for it in Sanskrit, and sometimes people greet each other with that, and that's Satchitananda, absolute truth, absolute knowledge, absolute bliss. Ananda. Ananda is bliss. I mean, that's the place called now, and that's where God lives. And it's the only thing that's real. And it's pretty persistent, isn't it? Can't get out of now. Has anyone ever gotten out of now? I can't get out of it. And when did it begin? That's right. It didn't. Will it ever not be now? It's not possible. So, anyway. So the mind, you got to control the mind. And it's our attachment to things, right? If you don't fear losing, if you're attached to something, you don't want to lose it. But if you're not attached, it doesn't matter, right? So it's attachment that causes the suffering, right? And like, for example, like if I had an experience at the age of 11 that really messed me up, like I was molested sexually or beaten up severely, or I got lost and I couldn't find my family or whatever. I had some traumatic traumatic experience at that time, or an experience that was quite caused me a lot of fear. Anyway, whatever my recollection of that is, which is fragmented, whatever that recollection of that moment, is a recollection of my perception at that time, I think. And I don't even know if my recollection is really what happened or whatever, but whatever that is, what if, suppose I couldn't get over it? I just can't get over it. And I just, should I not live today because of what happened when I was 11? Should I not be present for this wonderful gift called life because of what happened to me at 11? For me, that doesn't work. Right. And so all of our stuff, I get it. It contributes and it's damaging. He's got to pay. Okay. They will pay. But don't you lose your gift of life, which is this moment. Don't lose that over that. And remember, if you're angry at someone, like I really, the guy is over there. He doesn't even know it. He's not affected at all. But my anger is really destroying me, biochemically, physiologically, and it's not allowing me to be present. And here I am. I could be like, imagine I could be on a beach in Thailand, but no, I'm angry about some. So anger doesn't hurt anyone but me. I mean, the person who has it. And so, anyways, so these, and what would I be angry about someone who's over there and I'm here? The only reason I could be angry about him is because I have a thought, i.e. memory of something he did that I didn't like. And so here again, I'm living on a fragmented perception of a past event, which is causing me physiological damage. I mean, anger is going to cause you damage, right? Cortisol, epinephrine. I mean, there's all sorts of things. You got your autonomic nervous system, your heart variability goes. I mean, it's just not. Yeah. All right. So these and there's like, you can, and don't, really remember, don't say she makes me feel bad. She makes me feel. No, nobody makes us feel anyway. We feel the way we do. It partly in response to our perceptions of someone or of what they're doing. Whenever I'm around you, you make me feel small. You make me feel inconsequential. You make me feel stupid. You make me feel ugly. No. No one can make you feel. I mean, unless they stick something in you that can make you feel that. I'm talking about physical feeling. I'm talking about emotional feeling. Okay, so if we understand that no one's going to make you feel anything, they can't. I'll give you an example. Suppose I'm a masochist and I like to get hurt, right? Because the masochist, for some way in their lives, they somehow hit the pleasure center with pain. So they want to be hurt. All right. So, that's how. Yeah, anyway. So what I just want to say is that, listen, don't lose your life. Your now. This moment is yours. And whatever happened and whatever's going to happen isn't. It isn't. Imagine being upset over something that isn't. I'm not saying, hey, I haven't graduated yet. I'm still alive. I'll graduate when I start, because we're all here because we're learning. Got a lot to learn, right? A lot to learn. Yeah. So, remember, without that which isn't, Don't allow, if that's possible. You know, if that, I don't even know if that's, I don't know what's possible, but if it's possible not to allow stuff that isn't to disturb you, that would be pretty smart, right? It'd be like saying, it's like saying, I'm not going to get upset over that uh, that bowling ball flying through the air in Wisconsin right now, right? Isn't that a bizarre thought? Well, I mean, I'm not sure that I can't say for sure that's not happening, but I kind of have a feeling there's no bowling ball flying through the air over Wisconsin right now. But can you imagine if there was and I was upset about it? I mean, can you imagine being upset about that? That's what I'm saying. That's just as real as yesterday, and that's whatever I think happened yesterday. That's just as real. In other words, neither are real. And so am I going to let it disturb now? All right. And nobody makes you feel anything. You feel it because you feel it. Because it's your perception, right? When you're around this person, you feel like they made you. We're back on, you guys. All right, good. Jeez, this connection keeps going off. What was I trying to say? Oh, well, yeah. It's not just in the negative, in the positive, right? We that's how we express our love and affection for people. You make me feel so good. You make me feel whatever we say. What do we say? What was that movie? You complete me. Whatever. Wasn't there some movie? Anyway, you make me feel so good about myself. Even all that stuff. It's not you don't make me. I feel this way because whatever's going on in me. Not you. Because you could be trying to hurt me and or you could be trying to make me feel good. And the way I interpret it, what did he really mean? What was he really doing? What is he really doing? Right? What is he? He's being too nice. I know he's not really nice. Right? I mean, you understand that? So it doesn't matter. So someone's doing something because they love you or they care about you and they're going to do something and you say, nah, I know that's not real. Yeah, so I'm just saying, positive, negative, doesn't matter what it is. So it's just we just understand, but that we are that no one's doing anything to us unless physically doing something to us, right? But other than that, I mean, they could be screaming in our face. That's definitely. But anyway, you get it, right? I know you get it because you guys are really amazing. I wish we could all hang out together. Like, imagine a party we'd have, and not a party, but I mean a gathering. Wouldn't it be amazing to have this? Not on Zoom, but on live. So anyway, so did I give all the announcements? Yeah. Okay, and if you're new here, thank you for welcome. To the real world. Yeah, and unfortunately, we have to use words which are symbols. But remember, what is a word? It has meaning. It's a vehicle for communication. So once you get the meaning, you can lose the word. And that's why we have to have the same definition of words too. What else am I supposed to say to you? But anyway, so I just remember the reason this has taken long, because I agree. I mean, people are saying, yeah, you said it was going to start. I agree. It's crazy. And that's because it turns out that, and I didn't even realize that, but the team, my team, which are amazing people, they're just not here. They're in another country. So that's why they can't help me with all this technical nonsense. but they wanted to make sure we don't get deplatformed, and I guess it's all from scratch on the website. So yay, first week of September, okay, you guys. And then all right, so that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some questions from last week we'll do actually they're comments that from last week, and we'll start with Facebook, right? Where are we? Here we are. Okay. I don't know if you guys like spirulina, but I kind of love it. And it's pretty amazing stuff. Spirulina. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Can you imagine loving something that I don't like wheatgrass. I can't even like the smell of wheatgrass. So that's for 100% sure. If I had a wheatgrass, the only I would do it as a retention enema. Anyway, so I want to take some comments from last week on Facebook, because I think it's and then we'll get to the others. But I just wanted to getting back. Let me just please finish one thing. Okay, we're talking about the mind, and remember that the mind and the physiology are the same. All right, so okay, so we can't separate the mind from the body, right? We can't, because anyway. So I just want you to know something. Now there we have there are different languages, but do you know that all Indo-European languages are rooted in Sanskrit? Sanskrit was like one of the, perhaps, I don't know how original. I mean, there may be one prior to that it was derived from, but it's pretty fundamental. And then the other side of the spectrum is Chinese, and the Chinese characters and their whole language. So very different. But Sanskrit is really, and a lot of, we don't realize that it serves as the roots of words that are in everything. I mean, I don't care if you're talking about Hungarian, or you're talking about English, you're talking about Russian, you're talking about, and any of the non-Asian ones. Okay, so it's rooted in there. So it's a pretty, and it's called a conscious language, and it's if you're interested in language and linguistics and things like that, it'd be a good thing to learn. Anyway, the reason I'm saying all that is because there's a word in there. Its special word is considered the most fundamental word. It's called Om. And anyway, it forget the fact that it's another language. It's a language of Sanskrit. And I've told you this before, and this is going to remind you, and you probably know, and that is that Sanskrit, the words have their meaning, but they're also a vibratory place. When you say it, it's a vibratory. It takes you to a place where it's like a dimension of that vibration, of that frequency. All right. So, and Om really is AUM. It's and it's the first sound that any baby in any country can make is ah. That's the first sound we all make. And then as that evolves, it goes into finally your lips close. And basically what they're saying is that it encompasses all sounds, all words. So it's pretty cool. And the vibration is extremely fundamental. Anyway, what it does when you say it, if you kept saying it, is that your ears and your larynx are connected to your vagal nerve, and your vagal nerve is your parasympathetic nerve. But you can hum if you want to hum. You don't want to use the word Om because you think it's something. For some reason you don't want to use it. Hum. Okay, okay. So there's the what do you call it? The uh, two nerves that come off one, and it splits in another one. So okay, so you got superior, inferior laryngeal nerves, and then you've got the recurrent, right? So they come down, and they are part of the vagus. So when your vagal nerve is being stimulated, why is that a big deal? Well, because that's too weird. Um, oh, by the way, okay, so it's not just the nerve, it's not just the branches off the vagus that go to the larynx. There's also the auricular, right? The auricular nerve goes to the vagus too. Your hearing. So your hearing and your saying and the fact that your larynx is vibrating are stimulating the parasympathetic system. So you are getting out of your sympathetic overdrive. Very important. So much so there have been studies that have lots of studies where they're showing actually the effect. Now, um, it there is a medical procedure where they use this electrical stimulation on the tragus, which is not a stupid name for this part of the ear. But anyway, they use that and they stimulate it, and that to stimulate your vagal nerve. And they use that with depression. They use that with severe anxiety, severe depression, and they use it with epilepsy. A lot of conditions, they will stimulate the vagal your vagus nerve by putting these um, electrical frequencies into your ear, right? Because it goes along the auricular nerve to the vagus. All right. So, in other words, it will, and they've even measured it. You all familiar with heart rate variability, right? The heart rate variability, the distance between beats changes. And that pretty much is a phenomenon of the autonomic nervous system. And so all of us being in sympathetic overdrive are unbalanced. We don't have enough parasympathetic. And that's really not healthy, because it's not balanced. Remember, health is balance. And I won't go into what it is right now, but I just want you to understand that it's really not healthy. And it's when they talk about A-type personality and he had a heart attack because of the sympathetic overdrive. It's because of the unbalance. Okay, so the personality was one aspect of this unbalance. All right. So anyway, so basically there's a part of the brain, it's called the limbic system, right? And it gets deactivated with by activate when you stimulate the vagal centers, you actually uh, deactivate the limbic system, right? And then you get more of a parasympathetic dominance, which is really really going to be good for you for a while. All right, parasympathetic is that part of the autonomic nervous system that is uh, uh, can be thought of as a digestion and heart beating and liver function and all your organ functions, and um, cleansing and clearing, and all the things you do when you're not active, and because that's the sympathetic system is fight, move, jump, right, and that means all the blood's going to your muscles. It's going to so the blood's being shunted away from there. So when you get into your parasympathetic, the blood and nourishment and all the drainage all gets into your organs. So you really want to keep that balance, because you need both. But we're way out of balance. All right. So anyway, so the beautiful thing was that they were doing this. They did a 5-minute. There was a study. They did a 5-minute study with people doing Om, and they found out that it was. I think it was I didn't realize it was. Anyway, I didn't realize they found out if it was 6 breaths a minute, if you can bring it down to 6 breaths a minute, and or 6 ohms a minute, and the majority of it is on the last part, the because that's going to give you the vibration. So those of you who hate Sanskrit for some reason, because those those Indians and those Buddhists, that's so if that's how you are, okay, but and don't use it. And I know, and I mean, and it's very strange that people have that kind of thing, you know. Uh, I'm going to say something. Listen, everybody, just take a moment out here. Time out. Okay. When you die, and when I die, and when he dies, we turn back to Earth, and we don't turn back to Wisconsin. We don't turn back to uh, Adelaide. We don't turn back to London. We don't turn back to Moscow, Beijing, Bangkok. We turn back to Earth because we are Earthlings, all Earthlings, all Earthlings. Got lots of flowers out there, daisies and roses and uh, tulips. That one's more, roses are more beautiful. No, they're all beautiful and they all smell sweet. Right? Anyway, come on. Does that happen? Sorry, you guys. That's ridiculous why that happens. Can you imagine? Why is that happening? I don't trust anything though. I don't know why are they really doing it. Okay. Why are they really uh yeah. Uh so but the one I wanted to get the point across. You may have heard about the like the hippocampus, the amygdala, the cingulate gyri, and all that stuff. Those are part of the limbic system, right? And their emotions and okay. Anyway, it deactivates that by getting the vagal stimulation. All right. So if you don't like the word om, then don't say it. Just go okay, and all that all day long. Like if let's say you got a job that you hate your boss, you hate your just walk around going, just hum all day, as much as you can. All right. Hey, Davey from Sugarland. Hello there. It's hot. Good. Good. It's better than cold. I'm telling you. Oh no, I like the four seasons. Oh yeah. Whenever what you say, someone's gonna say the opposite. So, but anyway, I just want you to know that they're actually have now looking into using. Can you imagine Om chanting to treat epilepsy, to treat depression, to treat anxiety, to treat all things? They're actually looking into it. All right, so that's pretty amazing, right? Okay, so and the reason they know that is because they do these things that are called functional MRIs. So a functional, an MRI usually takes a picture, an anatomical picture of your brain or whatever. But these do it in function, and then they use these magnetic to look for activity. They send in magnetic pulses. That right? We all think that MRIs don't do any damage, and because we haven't been able to identify any damage, right? It's not like radiation, but I don't know. And you realize that they're sending in strong magnetic fields that knock your neutrons into a higher orbit. I mean, yeah, into a higher field level, and then they remove that magnetic pulse or magnetic flow source. And when they go back down, when they naturally fall back down to their uh, comfortable normal position, they emit energy, and that energy can be picked up, and that's how they can get a visual. So anyway, that's what they do. Um, even with anatomical, but I mean, so I'm just saying MRIs. I mean, we think they're not hurting, but that's kind of weird. Knocking, hitting all the neutrons in a certain area, and just yeah. But I guess who knows? So uh, anyway, so that was it. Chanting Om at 6 breaths per minute. All right, and the and if you don't like Om, do the uh, humming. All right, so it increases mental alertness, focus. It does that. So if you were to do that throughout the day, if you could go somewhere, because remember what you want to do, everybody, please just do this. I mean, I'm gonna have Darren on again. I gotta have Darren on the lives. You got Darren Sherbane, all right, kinesiologist is just the beginning of what he is. All right. But anyway, uh, what he's telling us is forget exercise. Let's not even use that word. Don't You're not going to go in and freak out for an hour and kill yourself. Let's just play. Let's just start playing like kids again. And the first requirement is you got to not care what you look like. And if you can't look foolish if you're having fun. Remember, you can't look foolish if you're having fun. You're just going to have fun. And if you fall, you fall. That's funny, right? When the kids are playing and one of them falls, they laugh. It's fun. It's not like, you fell. Well, that tells me something about your character. I don't know. We're adults are. Anyway. All right, yeah. Anyway, so keep this in mind. They do. Just if you've gone to a clinician who uses heart rate variability testing, I'm not sure what they're doing with the information. Okay, that was TikTok's little thing to let me know that they're in control. So I had to put that little. They give me a jigsaw puzzle to do once in a while. I don't know if you guys know that, but anyway, I'm sorry for talking about this stuff. I've wasted a lot of your time, and I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm going to try to go back here. Where are we? Are you guys still on? Are we still? Yeah, we're still up. Alive? Yeah. Okay. Let's go to these questions. Facebook. This is not a question. Comment from last week, and this is from Lisa. Please answer. Okay. Low IgM 20. Borderline IgG. Ways to reverse it. I've been told I'm stuck with this and will need antibiotics to prevent infections. I want to believe my body and immune system can balance again. All right, Lisa. The best way to answer you would be I'd have to ask you a few questions because I'd want to know. So I'm assuming from the way you wrote this that it's not something you've had always, that it's a recent event, which makes it a secondary, not a primary. The primary is you might have some actual enzymatic deficiency that you're born with or something, and that's a whole different thing. But it can develop from many things, right? And so I'm assuming that happened, right? And it can happen from chemo. It can happen from almost exposure to any kind of toxins. It can happen from having been septic. There's a lot of ways that could have led to it. So obviously yours is secondary. And so just to everyone to know, let's understand what it is, because we all have these things called immunoglobulins in our blood. And immunoglobulins basically are antibodies, and there's like 5 classes of them, and and the main two that we always think about are IgM and IgG. So when someone says, you know, uh, I want to know if he's been exposed to measles, so they do. That's what they look for. They do an antibody test. The antibody test is to see if you have any IgG to that virus, whatever that is, exosome. And then they'll say, yeah, you had it. Now, the IgM is the first one. Okay, so now, where do they come from? They come from plasma cells. What are plasma cells? Plasma cells are like end of the line, fully mature, ready to go B cells. What's a B cell? B cells are lymphocytes. There are T cells, T lymphocytes, and B lymphocytes. And lymphocytes are one of the group of cells that constitutes the immune cells, white blood cells, right? Right. You've got the neutrophils, you've got the lymphocytes, you've got the eosinophils, the basophils, the monocytes. Did I say that? Monocytes, and then I think I got them all. Yeah. Anyway, so the lymphocytes, there's 2 kinds. And they all do different things, and that'd be a great fun course to, just a thing for you all to know, because I think it's really important for us to know how our body works in simple terms, because the basic terms. We don't need to know the biochemistry, but just the basic term. But anyway, so when you first get exposed to something, the B cells become plasma. Like you get exposed to the B cells. The B cell says, "Aha!" So now it's got a receptor. You get exposed to something, whatever. Let's call it. I don't know. For fun, let's call it a virus. Epstein-Barr virus or herpes. Doesn't matter. You get exposed, and the B cell now kind of starts maturing and cloning. And what it does is it makes some cells that got the message, but they don't become plasma cells. They become memory cells. And now they're very sensitive to that particular antigen, and they're just hanging out, waiting for you to be exposed again. So, and they're ready to go. That's what they talk about developing immunity. That's a big part of it, is these immunoglobulins. So, these the B cells can become memory cells, and a lot of memory cells are stored in the spleen, but they can be stored elsewhere as well. And they're hanging out and they're ready. And the whole idea of of when they give, I can't say the V word, because we live in an extremely the world we live in. I don't even know the words for it now. I mean, all this, I got George Orwell. I got, we live, as bad as you ever thought it was in the Soviet Union, or it is in China. Hey, I can't use certain words. Anyway, the V word. So the whole idea is that they're going to expose you to something. You're going to develop that immunity. But if you understand how immunity works, if you were exposed to something, you will, anytime that comes back, you're ready for it. Okay, so that's the memory cell. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole why V's can't work, don't work, never did work. Now, if the B cell goes all the way to becoming a plasma cell, now that's just pumping out IgM antibodies that are going to grab and neutralize or eliminate whatever was exposed to that virus. That's what the IgM do. They're the first ones on the scene, and then they later become the IgGs. Take a few days. Now the IgGs last. So the IgG. So when we test you and say yes, he did, she did have whatever. So also when they're saying people when they talk about HIV, they're looking for that, or the antibody, the IgG. They're looking for that. Is with the great hoax. Remember the great hoax 5 years ago, 4 years ago? How long was it? 4 years ago. Yeah, I was still going on. Anyway, the great hoax. You're looking for antibodies. Okay, that's it. So the IgM. So now, so you don't have a primary deficiency, Lisa. Um, you know, it's secondary, right? So I don't know if you're ever on steroids, if they put you on corticosteroids, right? It's like I said, severe infections and chemotherapy, and you could be nutrient uh, deficient. There's a lot of reasons why that could have happened. And there is an association between the IgM and what they call autoimmune. I don't know such thing as autoimmune. The whole concept is insane that your body's attacking itself because is it now well, because you know what, the cell that looks, it's very similar to, we're talking about a system that is so precise. Realize that your 100 trillion cells engaging in 36 sextillion, which is 21 zeros, chemical reactions every second. I mean, you know, that can only happen if at the most fundamental level things are extremely precise. You can't be sloppy. It's extremely precise. So to say that our body is now our immune system, that precise immune system, is going to make a mistake and attack a part of our body is, just it's part of the Rockefeller mentality to keep us, um, uh, well, number one, keep us distance from nature, losing a respect for nature, and to keep us atheistic, meaning we don't think that there's an intelligence to all of this, and it ain't us because we're not intelligent. Intelligence is so the fabric of whatever happens is intelligence. So they want us to be atheistic, and they want us to be to have a real disrespect for nature. In fact, science's goal is to subdue and control nature. Yes, that's right. That's their goal. Mhm. And anyway, so we distance it. So you started, yeah. So that's another way of doing it. Saying, yeah, the immune system made a mistake. It's attacking you. So, but anyway, it turns out IgM is associated with it. Why? Because IgM is one of the first. It's not one. It's the first antibody produced from B cells. Okay, and if you have a deficiency, so you said yours is down around 20. It should be up at least 40. So we know that yes, it's deficient, and I'm wondering why. And your question is, how can I bring it back up? Am I going to be like this forever? And all that sort of thing. So the that's why I would like to ask you, how did it come about? Well, I mean, or what have you been exposed to? And really, what you need to do, because what the conventional world would do is they would give you perhaps immunoglobulin shots. There's no way they haven't purified an IgM. They can't. But again, they could do things like that, but they really have no answer to any of this. They don't have an answer to anything. I'm telling you, they don't have an answer to anything except for, I mean, I'm talking about metabolically. For surgery. They've got answers. They know what they're doing with surgery, repair and things like that. But I mean, they don't know what's going on. Anyway, so Um, all white blood cells, your immune system is produced in your bone marrow. Okay, so your bone marrow produces three things. It produces red blood cells, white blood cells, which are immune cells, and platelets. Platelets are which help make blood clots, and they're fragmented things. So when you take aspirin or something like that, they want to block platelet adhesion so you don't start a clot. That's why they give it to people who are prone to having a myocardial infarction, which is their fancy way of saying a heart attack. And all it does is decrease platelet adhesion. So that's platelets, white blood cells, and red blood cells. Now, so the white blood cells, as we said, can be several different types, and we're talking about the lymphocytes, which can become T cells or B cells, and then okay. So therefore, if you're having a problem with IgMs, and you said you're borderline IgG, okay, of course you'd be borderline because if you didn't have enough IgM, you can't make IgG because IgG comes from the result of IgM having done its thing, having so, because remember, IgG is a long-lasting evidence. IgM is on the scene now, right? An acute event. IgG comes in there because IgM's short-lived. IgG, but you can't have an IgG if you didn't have an IgM. So what do we have to do? We have to strengthen your immune system, and it's probably the same. Whatever happened to you, whether it was chemo or radiation or sepsis or whatever it is that happened to you, um, um, caused exhausted your body's production of a B cell somehow. Somehow the B cell lineage got affected more than others. Okay. Now you didn't do. I'd like to do with you a lymphocyte subset, which is a panel, right? And if your doctor would be uh, willing, then ask him or her to go online and look for lymphocyte map MAP. I forget the name of the company who does that. Who does that? Anyway, lymphocyte MAP is the most exhaustive, incredible, detailed look at lymphocytes, which are how we, it's if you could CFCs, viruses, all that stuff, right? Even you get exposed to toxins, you need lymphocytes, and this shows us all. This is the most incredible test. But let's look at that. Let's see, because are your B cells low? Or do you have B cells and they're just not being able to convert into the plasma cells to make the IgA? Because we don't really know all the story. You can't just say you have. It can't be that you just have low IgM. But okay, from where? Well, let's understand it. Okay, so I would do a lymphocyte subset, and now if he or she doesn't want to. I don't know. Doctors are weird, so I don't know where. I hope you have a doctor that is outside of the system a little bit, and you get the lymphocyte map. If not, if they just want to use Quest or LabCorp or whatever, some community reference laboratory, they do lymphocyte subsets, but they're really just like a few tests. It's not really a lot of detail, but it'll tell you if your B cells are low. And if your T4s and T8s are low or high, that it'll tell you just simple, and your natural killer cells if they're low or high. But that's it. It won't tell you all kinds of details. It won't tell you about the T4s. Are they Tregs? Are they T17s? Are they TH1s, TH2? It won't tell you all that. So there's a lot of information you can't get. But that would help us a great deal just to know that. But in general, forget all that. Now what we have to get your immune system to work better so that all in all, let's just get it working better. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we do that by getting rid of all possible toxins in our body, because our toxins are a strain on the immune system because it's got to work. It's like, oh God. Sorry, you guys. There we go. Yeah. All right. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. Yay. Okay, so anyway, get rid of all toxins, and then we start eating food that was designed, foods for which we were designed. Is called human food, and we go to sleep early, and we move around all day, and all the things that we always talk about. We bring you got to get your thyroid. I'm going to do a talk on thyroid one day, you guys. Not just the iodine thing, but really, it's relationship with the immune system. And your thyroid working, you got to get your adrenals working, in harmonized, sex hormones, all of them harmonized. And so we do all that. Now the immune system will, and keep your colon clean, because 60%, 70% by weight of your immune tissue, which is lymph nodes, gut associated lymphatic tissue, Peyer's patches, the spleen, and then lymph nodes, is in the gut. 70% in the gut. All right. So, and what's in the gut also? Your colon. And what is your colon full of? That's right. And so that stuff, and there's something called enterohepatic circulation. Entero, E-N-T-E-R-O, which is talking about your intestines. Hepatic, which is liver. So every 4 minutes, all the stuff that's being in your intestines, including your small and large, are being drained into the veins, and they all coalesce into one large vein called the portal vein, which goes right into your liver. And that's why, because your liver's job is to detoxify stuff, right? So, however, if you're like the average constipated human being, then that means every 4 minutes your liver is getting let's not say a tidal wave, but a pretty big wave splash, or of sewage, stuff you don't like to look at, smell, think about, or anything, right? Okay, your liver every 4 minutes. Okay, now on the way it goes through all these lymph nodes, so it's your immune system is being taxed, and your liver is being taxed because you haven't had your colon cleaned. And if you go once a day, it's not enough. And if you go any less than that, you're in big trouble. Why? Because you're holding on to these toxins. And you shouldn't put anything in this side until you got stuff coming out there, until it's cleaned out. You want to keep that tube. Now, once a day, if you have a bowel movement once a day, and it's about 4 to 5 feet long, then yes, that's fine. Or 1.5 meters. If it's about 1 to 1.5 meters, that's fine. Okay. However, if it's not, then you're not getting enough. You want to get rid of all that stuff. Okay. Anyway, so that affects your immune system too. So keeping that clean. So all that stuff is doing it. So if you do all that, now, as far as interventions go, we all know, well, vitamin C is a big part of keeping the immune system healthy. Vitamin A, a big part of it. Zinc is a big part of it. Vitamin A, 50,000 units a day, until you look at your levels. Make sure you get to the upper limits of normal on vitamin A. Okay, you want to keep it around there. Mixed carotenoids. Remember, vitamin A's are carotenoids. Mixed carotenoids, not just beta carotene. Okay, mixed carotenoids. You can take 30, 40, 50,000 a day until you get up to that level. And this is for everybody, including this guy here. And, the ascorbate, we've talked about a lot. You need to be getting at least 8 to 10 grams very slowly throughout the day so that your body can absorb it. You need the ascorbates. And eating real food. Okay. You do all that, and your immune system will get stronger. Now, the other interventions we can do are there's something called thymosin alpha 1, which is a 28 amino acid peptide produced by your thymus gland. However, your thymus gland shrinks the older you get, right? I mean, it's largest at around 12 or 13, and then it starts to shrink. And now, so if one of the peptides it produces is called we call it thymosin alpha 1. It's 28 amino acid, but it's also very, very involved in. Uh, it's not just activating T cells. It activates natural killer cells. It actually stimulates B cells. It does. Yeah, it does. It makes B cells work better. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Thymosin alpha 1. Everyone should be doing it. If you're over a certain age, like if you're over 40, you should be doing it anyway. But if you've got a condition like CFCs, by the way, if there's anyone listening who doesn't know what CFCs are, real quickly, the word that they use, the Rockefeller word that they use, called, I hate to say it, God, it hurts to say it, cancer. The word they use, they call cancer. Don't use the word; it's a horrible word. It doesn't actually. So I want you to know it doesn't convey any just emotion. Is don't use it. But anyway, what's really happening is the cells are adapting in the genes that are being expressed. In other words, it needs this enzyme but doesn't need this enzyme. So it makes those changes, and now it can become a successful uh, fermenting cell, chronically fermenting cell. And that's what it is. So that's what it is. So we're going to talk about what it is. We're not going to talk about a zodiac sign. Okay, so that's what a CFC is. All right. So anybody out there with CFCs or that knows it, but we all got them. But I mean, but it needs to realize that the thymosin alpha 1 would be great. Okay, because it stimulates every part of the immune system. It's really fantastic. Now, excuse me. Unfortunately, so with people with CFCs, we would also want them to get methionine and enkephalin, which is a 5 amino acid peptide made by the brain, spinal cord, sympathetic ganglia, sympathetic nerves, uh, adrenal gland, adrenal medulla. Yeah. Anyway, it modulates normally between the endocrine system and the immune system. But when it comes to CFCs, it actually goes in and reverses all the negative stuff that happens from the tumor microenvironment, right? So that is fantastic. But in your situation, the low IgM, unfortunately, you don't want that, okay? Because it turns out that the methionine and enkephalin would actually decrease that. So you would not want that. But what you do want is the thymosin alpha 1. That would be fantastic, and all the cleansing and all that stuff. Everything I just said, and it'll go up. It'll go up. I'd like, I'm pretty sure you must have had a toxic insult. It's probably chemo or something. All right, so okay, here's Lily. Lily, I cannot get ivermectin in Canada. Tried to have it shipped from a vet in the USA, and it was stopped at the border. Yeah, I know. So my first way to respond to you, Lily, is move, get out of Canada. But other than that, probably not a possibility, although it should be, because soon you won't have that choice. But what am I saying here? Turns out to be true. What I would suggest really is you've got to take a trip. Just leave. Go to the States. So go there and then you can get it shipped from wherever, whether it's an Indian pharmacy, right? Like it, 1mg.com, or if it's alldaychemist.com, or if it's apollopharmacy.in, right? You can order from them. But anyway, get as much as you need, and then then go back that way. I think that's probably makes the most sense for you. I don't know what else, but it's not just Canada. Australia's, New Zealand, even Europe. I mean, Europe's got the Codex Alimentarius, so a lot of stuff can't get over there. So it's not only that. So when wherever you are, if you find yourself in a place where you can't get what you really need to help you stay alive and keep breathing, then leave and go get it. Come on, because they're making it as hard as they can. Okay, Lily, Deborah, do you think bee pollen is important for health? Does it have any real benefits? Yeah, that's a really loaded question. But before I do that, let me just go back to Lisa for a minute. You know Lily. Is it Lily? Yeah, Lily with the ivermectin. The thing that's really strange to me about is why the ivermectin is there's a condition called onchocerciasis, which is these roundworms, and they get it's endemic in Africa, and they actually that whole family of parasite is two main ones. One is the one that goes into the lymph nodes and causes what we call, if you've ever heard of, elephantiasis, which is extreme edema of a leg or of an extremity. It could be an arm, and then the other one, causes river blindness, and river blindness is because the little microfilaria are like the babies. They're like a micrometer, very small. And anyway, they go in and they migrate to all parts of the body, including the eye, and they go in there and they cause inflammation to the point of becoming blind. The drug treatment of choice for these 250 million people worldwide who have it is ivermectin. And so they get it. They're getting it. It's interesting. Ivermectin kills the microfilaria. It kills that form of it, but it doesn't kill the adult worm. And however, by taking ivermectin, what you do is you prevent the problems, because it can get into your skin and cause white patches and some dermatitis and all kinds of. It looks pretty bad. Or if it gets into your eye, you're blind. It prevents that. So you have, because it doesn't get the adult, you've got to keep taking it. So these people are taking the ivermectin for 10, 15 years. So it's safe. And we're talking about kids as well as adults. It's definitely safe, and it's readily available worldwide. Isn't it crazy we can't get it? So really, if you have to move, I would move if not that I would move. I did move, and I would do it again. I'm not going to stay in a place where I'm not happy and where I'm being where I don't have freedom. I really like freedom, so I can't be there. I did for a long time, and I'm no more. Okay, so anyway, just for anybody who's thinking about the parasites, it was really interesting about that particular parasite is that the adult worms can be killed by killing the bacteria, that is necessary for them to get to that size. I mean, they have a relationship, just like we have our good gut biome, right? We have a good healthy biome. So do insects, and so do parasites. I mean, microorganisms are the king. They're everywhere. They keep everything alive. They're not germs and bad. All right. Anyway, yeah. So they have this amazing. There's this. So this one particular bacteria is the one that it keeps that thing alive. All right. So it's called Wolbachia bacteria, and guess what gets rid of it? Doxycycline. Yay. So 100 milligrams twice a day, doxycycline, and the ivermectin, and those guys are going to be fine, right? But anyway, so what my point was, it's available all over the earth except in the civilized countries. It's crazy. Now bee pollen. Let's get back to bee pollen. Now, I don't know if I told you guys because TikTok took down one of my videos that was talking about the benefits of propolis. Anyway, how do you not talk about this stuff? So anyway, that's yes, Deborah. Bee pollen is really important for health, and it has some real benefits. Okay, so if you understand what bee pollen is, okay, so you know that plants have pollen, right? And pollen is actually the male aspect of the plant. It's kind of think of it as sperm, and so the plants that are that rely on that method of reproduction have pollen, right? And so the bees are there, and so actually the honeybees, excuse me, they actually have these little like they're like it's almost like little. Can you imagine going? It's like they're going shopping, right? And they attach these little bags to their legs. They can fill up these bags, so they fill them. They get filled up with pollen while they're there dancing around the flower. Those little bags get filled up, and then when they go through into the cave, into the hive, it kind of comes off and it gets around. So it kind of surrounds the hive, right? And so then you've got the so they bring in the flower pollen, the floral pollen, and then the stuff that gets there that is comes off when they're entering a hive. It gets mixed with their saliva. There's enzymes. There's pollen enzymes, pollen nectar, and it turns out to be bee pollen, and it's an extremely powerful medicine. All right, so it's and really the fundamental thing that's in there are what are called flavonoids and polyphenolic substances, compounds. So a flavonoid is, now you must have heard of that. You must have. I know we've talked about them before, and I'm sure you might not know. But why do plants have flavonoids, and why are they so important? So a flavonoid is basically, if you look at it, it's like it's got these rings. There's a couple benzene rings and another ring. And I don't know if you've ever seen like rings of, when you're looking at pictures of chemicals, compounds. Yeah. So anyway, the flavonoids. So what they're necessary for is they do so many things for the plant. Because remember, the plant's just there in the sun. It's getting exposed to free radicals all the time, right, from the radiation. So it's got to protect itself. So it's got to be an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. It's got to do all that stuff. It's got to produce those things. Otherwise, it's going to get fried. So it's doing that. But this stuff also, the flavonoids also form these little things like tubes that are necessary for the pollinating plants to reproduce. I mean, so that's really play important roles. But since this universe, which is beyond intelligent. Beyond intelligent. It's called God. But that's just English. You could call it Dios. And you could call God whatever, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, with the people, Brahman. I mean, remember, you got, don't get mad at each other. Don't do all that stuff. Remember, you just got different languages. Are you going to get mad at somebody because they have a different word for chair than you do? I don't like the way he pronounces that. That's a chair. In my world, that's a chair. It's not a gaoi, right? In Thai, we call it gaoi. It's a gaoi, chair. Anyway, so we got different words in languages. Okay, so remember that. Okay, so that intelligence says that, okay, so the plants need all of the stuff that they need. And those, can you imagine this? Those particular chemicals that are required to do that are necessary for the life of other animals, other creatures. I mean, it always blows my mind. Right? So, and the way they collect bee pollen is they just put these like these almost like gone. Okay, good. All right. So the way they collect it, the way they do it is yeah. Just a time out here. Since your servant here says, "I am," is what God referred to himself as. Agreed. And right in the Judeo-Christian Muslim group of practices, spiritual practices, they all agree on the first 5 books written by Moses called the Pentateuch. Well, actually, there are a lot of writers in there. And also called the Torah. And so in there, yeah. So when Moses is up there and he gets the 10 Commandments and he goes, all right, he's talking to the bush. He says, all right, now who am I going to say you are? I mean, they're going to say, where'd you get those rules? And he said, I am that I am. And we've talked about this before, because when you go inside and you want to see who you are, and you're going to say, the only way you can see who you are is to find out who you are not. So nitty is the way they say it in Sanskrit. I'm sorry I use Sanskrit so much, but it's such fantastic language. I'm neither this nor that. I'm neither this. So I'm not my finger. I'm not my hand. I'm not my arm. I'm not my body. I'm not my mind. I'm not. And when I get down to what I am, I am. This is I am. And so that I is your I. Is God's eye. There's only one of us in the universe. So, yeah, I agree 100%. Now, I'm so easy to distract, you know. Yeah, we were talking about bee pollen, and does it have any real benefits? And so, and flavonoids. All right, yeah. Okay, so now, I was telling you how they collect them. So they have these little. It's almost like a mesh that is a little bit smaller than the holes to get into the hive. So when they're going through there, it just kind of they collect the pollen as they're passing through. So for people that are philosophical vegans, you didn't harm the bee. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to look at that. I don't think it's harming the bee. I guess you could view it as somehow depriving it of something. But anyway, um, so what's in that pollen? What's in that pollen? I mean, okay, so we know that flavonoids is the main thing, one of the main actual molecular structures that help, that are medicinal. But you realize that it's got it's got minerals, it's got sterols, like steroid types structures, which are good. Essential oils, amino acids, hormones, enzymes, natural antibiotics. It's got a lot of carotenoids, which is vitamin A, and it's got the flavonoids, it's got the polyphenols. All of this, wow, 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 wow. So now, remember, we were talking about a flavonoid. What is it? It's a metabolite of the plant, of photosynthesizing plants that are of the cells that photosynthesize. Okay, and there's different kinds of flavonoids, right? But again, as I said, it's necessary for the fertilization, for the ultimate fertilization of a plant, so that it can procreate. So it's really, really important. And it was first studied by Albert Svent Gorgi. He's always have a hard time with his name. He's the same guy that discovered vitamin C. Kind of smart guy, Hungarian. Anyway, he found out that there was a synergy between the vitamin C and the flavonoids and so forth. Anyway, so he found that in the lemon, in lemons, in the peels of the lemons, and he called it citrin, 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 or substance P. They didn't know what it was at the beginning, right? Okay, so then they finally found out what it is. And so what do they do? What do these flavonoids? Remember, there's different kinds. Because remember, I was talking about the structure, right? So it's different ring structures, and it's how. Anyway, it's variations of that basic structure gives you all the different types of flavonoids, right? And there are many kinds. So the ones that are in bee pollen are, I'm sure you've heard of them. Like lutein. If you heard of lutein, it's in tomatoes, right? You've heard of quercetin. Have you heard of camphorol? Have you heard of catechin? Have you heard of genistein, which is also in vitamin in green tea? There's many. There's more than that. There's many that are in bee pollen. All right. So the myricetin and the camphorol, the quercetin and lutein are really important for allergies because they prevent degranulation of the histamine. You have these mast cells, which are part of the immune system, and then when they degranulate, they produce histamine, and you get all stuffed up, and your eyes, right? That's why you take antihistamines, right? Well, the ultimate real antihistamine are the flavonoids, right? And the flavonoids, especially these ones here, quercetin and camphorol, and they actually do that by blocking, by dealing with one of the enzymes. I won't get into the details, but everything. But the other thing that really blows my mind is that it also blocks the cyclic AMP phosphodiesterase. It inhibits it. And you're saying, what is he talking about? My God. Yeah. Well, the only reason that interests me is because that's what Dr. Kobayashi we use that in our hyperthermia when we do hyperthermia, systemic hyperthermia. You have to get a phosphodiesterase inhibitor because of sick. It won't go into it. That's not the subject right now. I will stay away from that. Anyway, so that's what it does, And the other thing is that the bee pollen has a really powerful anti-inflammatory, and it does that. It's pretty interesting. It does that by reducing the amount of nitric oxide being released, and prostaglandin production from arachidonic acid. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so you don't get this inflammatory thing. So it actually is working at a very fundamental level, and it's not damaging at all. Okay. And and so probably the anti-inflammatory, probably the most the flavonoids that are the most responsible for the anti-inflammatory effect are the quercetin and camphorol. So it's very, very important. And what's of particular interest to everyone here is that CFCs, or even whatever you have going on that's chronic, the underlying fundamental adaptive physiological condition is called chronic inflammation. All right. And this is a powerful anti-inflammatory. So that there's studies that show that if you're getting green, either you're eating green tea, you're drinking curcumin, all bee pollen, all these different things consistently in your life throughout a day by day, your risk of developing these is reduced much. And if you've got them, it's going to eliminate them sooner. So that's pretty important. That's like very important. All right. So taking this on a long term is really good. So I would definitely get it. So what they basically do is they block the the inflammatory process, and that's very cool. All right. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to do that too much, of course, because we need inflammation to heal, right? Healing, inflammation. You need a balance. So you get hit, you get a damage, you get trauma. You've got to get inflamed to heal. You get red, hot, swollen, and painful. 4 cardinal signs of inflammation, and that means that just a lot of blood is going there and is leaking out all this really good growth factors and healing factors and all that stuff, and then it's gone. It heals. So you need inflammation. Not that inflammation is bad. We're not going to use morality here. It's not that inflammation is damaging. It's not. It's healing. It's health. However, if it keeps, what happens when you get chronic inflammation, now it changes because now it's doing something else. It's really now, it develops mechanisms to avoid the continual cause of that inflammation, right? Example. You go out and you rake in the yard. You haven't been raking in the yard for years. And you go out and you do one day and you come in the house and you got all these blisters. That's inflammation. If you don't go back out in that yard and do it again, it's going to be inflamed for a few days and it's going to heal. But if you go back out that and the next day and the next day and the next day, pretty soon what'll happen is you're now going to get calluses, and they're going to get bigger and they're going to form. They're going to start not protecting. So you're getting tissue proliferation. You're getting the kind of things that you might not want in certain conditions like CFCs. So chronic inflammation has to change, and it's not just healing, it's protecting. And that involves a lot of different biochemical mechanisms, right? Yeah. So now, just as an aside for anybody out there, and there must be. I know. I was looking at the statistics. I think only like 25% of the people that listen are male. I don't know why. Why is that? Why are females more interested in taking care of themselves? I mean, I guess men are more, usually, not you guys that are listening, but I guess a lot of men are more interested in looking good. Go to the gym, but that's about it. But anyway, that's just statistics. But anyway, those of you out there with a prostate, just keep in mind how important bee pollen is for that. Okay, so when they get the bee pollen that is made from citrus plants, and they extract it with ethanol. So it's bee pollen extracted with ethanol. With ethanol from, and the pollen that they got was from citrus, the bees. Um, so it's not citrus pollen; it's the bees took the citrus pollen and turned it into bee pollen. Right. Okay. So that when they do that, they gave people good doses of it for like 12 weeks, and really got rid of benign prostatic hypertrophy, which is BPH. Your prostate gets enlarged. You're getting up to urinate like 15, 20 times a night, um, and that's not something I just read. I happen to know that like firsthand. And you don't always have to use your hands. That's a good thing. One of the good things about being a guy, you don't really need hands to do all that. To do that, and if you don't touch anything, you don't have to wash your hand either, right? Right. Um, Plus, I don't. I learned early on try not to pee on my hand. I don't pee on my hand. I think I'm pretty cool. Anyway, um, so you got to understand how powerful this is, uh, and they measured the effects of it because they looked at the chemicals in the ejaculate. Uh, um, they had them ejaculate, and they looked at it, and if there were certain chemicals, like they had the complement, C3, they had ceruloplasm, and some other things that tell them that whether or not it was inflamed or not. All those markers came down. You guys are back on. I'm really sorry how this happens. That's so weird, isn't it? Why do we keep going offline? Yeah, you guys. I see there's some stuff talking here. Point back for a protocol. Okay, protocol. Don't get mad at me, you guys. The webinar on my drlodi.com. The whole thing, the protocol's there. It's there, right? And I told you where to get it. You're talking about Parasite, I imagine. You're talking about Parasite, right? He never does, so I don't think he has answers. I asked him point blank for a protocol. His Facebook group said, okay. You haven't been listening, I love. Ivermectin, 12 milligrams 3 times a day. And I close on my 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Praziquantel, 600 milligrams 3 times a day. And you got mebendazole, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Or fenbendazole, 222 milligrams 3 times a day. And then you got to take either nitazoxanide or tinidazole. I would recommend nitazoxanide, 500 TID, 3 times a day. And you want to take an antifungal, diflucan, 150 milligrams 3 times a day. You do this 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. For how long? 10 weeks, 12 weeks? 10 cycles, as many as you think you need, depending on your situation. And then you repeat that again every year, maybe 2-3 months. And when you're not doing it, if you have CFCs, when you're not doing your cleanse, you're still going to take ivermectin, mebendazole, and niclosamide in lower doses to kill CFC stem cells. Yes, yes, yes. And I've said this, BT, I'm not sure who you are. I have said this on live many times, many times. I'm not hiding it. I do have the answers that I think are right. And by the way, if I wouldn't recommend if you're taking all of those, yes. Do I take them all at once? Yes. Why? Because these guys. Let me tell you something about parasites. You don't think of parasites as individuals. You think of them as a biomass. When they're in you, you're not going to get rid. Okay, You've got to, okay, each worm can lay 20,000 eggs a day. Each egg can become 20,000 worms. So if you add them in there a while, we're talking about a biomass. It's not. So you've got to just keep doing it because these guys are going to hatch and on, off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Now, it might not be that you need all those, the praziquantel, and you just take the mebendazole, ivermectin, and a niclosamide. Or, so you don't have to take all of them, you can take 3 of them. And then you might not just take one of the antiprotozoals, which is nitazoxanide. You could take 2 nitazoxanide and tinidazole. But you can do them 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And that you're also going to be taking things to keep your liver supported because all of those medications require liver to clean them out. And what are those liver things? Silymarin, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Alpha lipoic acid, 300, 400 milligrams 3 times a day. And a B complex once a day. And you can also take, if you get, silymarin or milk thistle. Silymarin comes from milk thistle. What else? Yeah, that's it. I mean, I would also take phosphatidylcholine. If we're talking about liver, keeping your liver healthy, that's really good. You're taking all that and selenium while you're doing these antiparasitic. So yeah, your liver enzymes are going to go up and then they'll go down and go up and go down. But remember something. And to get your liver enzymes checked before you do it. Make sure you're not really, because if you're really high already and you got a problem going on, you got to be working on that for sure. But you're going to start out with lower dosing. So, so we all have parasites. They're all over there. They're in there. They're in there. You're not going to find them. That's why they are called parasites. They know how to hide. They know how to survive, and you're not going to just find them. And for some reason, doctors don't understand this. I don't know why. Why do I not know why? Because the same reason they don't understand anything. Because they're educated by people that don't want them to understand. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. She did leave a job because she figured out. Ask him. She knows less than me. What? I don't know what you guys are talking about. My God. It's a good thing I don't read these because it makes me feel weird here. Okay, because I'm actually doing my best, you guys. So where were we? So I hope you understand that. Is that Lily? Yeah, that is it Lily? No, it was Deborah. Deborah, you understand that bee pollen's yeah. The only